Okay, a very, very good morning to all of you. Namaste. Welcome to this session, the first session of two. The second will be part two of an introduction to the heritage and culture of India. At the outset, I would like to thank all the organizers of Tattvãloka who have been very kind to organize this program. To Mrs. Sharala Panchapakeshan, to Mrs. Vasumati, and to young Shreya Nagarajan Singh and Rama Kshirsagar, who is now the host. My heartfelt thanks for all the help and assistance and organization that they have been doing over the last few days. Now, this is a subject that is very, very vast. And I have very clearly stated that it is only an introduction. And I now also want to state that this will obviously be very superficial because within 2 lectures of approximately 50 minutes each, one cannot do full justice to the subject. However, I'll try to get across a few things that many of you may not know or perhaps may know. So let's start with the sources of Indian history, how valuable they are, and what great treasures they are to us. No, we know of coins, the currency that I understand that most of you are young students. So with that in mind, I'm talking to the age group between 10 and 16 or 10 and 19. If there are older people in this audience, please bear with me because my lecture is focused on young students. So we know of the coins that we handle today. But how were they in the past and in what way are they sources of history? Just a brief introduction. So what you're looking at is a gold coin, a pure gold coin from the Gupta era. You've all heard of Samudragupta and Chandragupta Vikramaditya and their successors. So the Guptas were a very, very powerful dynasty, and they were also an extremely well-to-do dynasty. They had conquered various parts of India, a lot of India, in fact. And because of their economic prosperity, they were able to issue many gold coins, and one is this. So you see, we have our coins today, our 10 rupee coins, 5 rupee coins. We have both sides with some symbols on them. Similarly, on many Gupta coins, you have goddess Lakshmi figuring very prominently. That's goddess Lakshmi. She's seated, and she's seated on a lotus, a full-blown lotus. Let us understand that we're looking at something that's more than 1,000 years old, far more than that, and therefore this is somewhat erased. So this thing, this coin that you're looking at, if you look at it like this, you may not be able to understand very much. This is a coin of Samudragupta, the most famous Gupta king, 4th century. And this is also a gold coin. But let me show you an artist's sketch that I have scanned from a book on the Guptas. It looks like this. So we understand that this man was a musician. This king was also a musician. Many of these kings were extremely talented. So he was a musician. He's sitting on a throne or a couch. He's holding a musical instrument. I'm not able to tell you what the name is, but it has frets and he's playing on it and wearing earrings, wearing a pearl necklace, wearing bangles and something on his foot as well. Even the details of the legs of this throne or chair or couch that he's sitting on are very clearly seen. Typical musician's posture, one leg bent, the other leg hanging down, and one musical instrument resting on his lap. Now look at this and you can understand how it is. Had we looked at this directly, we would not have understood so much. So this is a coin of Samudragupta, and it gives us the information that this man was a musician. Here again, we have a horse, and that horse is standing in front of something highly decorated. This is a Ashwamedha horse. This is again a coin of the Guptas, and we well know that the Gupta dynasty, kings of the Gupta dynasty, performed the Ashwamedha Yajna. But here is a coin that actually shows us the Ashwamedha horse tied to the yupa or the post. So it's tied over there. So these, again, one of the Gupta kings, I won't go into great details, killing a lion, a wild animal. Kumaragupta here, standing and feeding a peacock. So you have silver coins, you have gold coins, and then coming down south, you have coins of the Cholas. They also issued gold coins, they issued copper coins in plenty. Again, a very, very formidable dynasty who had conquered a vast, vast area of South India. So these are some of the Chola coins that you see over here. Now these coins, with the figure of the king, with some of the words written over here, the names of the kings, etc., show us how important coins are as sources of history. I'm going to point out only a few sources. There are innumerable sources for writing of Indian history, just showing you a few. Now I'm showing you a Pallava period inscription. This belongs to approximately the 4th century AD, and these are called copper plate inscriptions. Now, these copper plate inscriptions we don't see as commonly as the stone inscriptions that are etched on the walls of temples. So walk into any, or not any, most of the temples of South India, many of them have inscriptions on the walls, which most times we are not able to read. And even if you know Sanskritam well, if you know Tamil well, if you know any of the other South Indian languages well, you will be hard put to read those inscriptions. I'll come to the reason later. So those stone inscriptions we've seen very often. But these, what I'm showing you now, we won't see that often. You see them only in museums or with collectors, etc. Now these are called copper plate inscriptions. And it's spread out like a fan. This is there in the Madras Museum in Chennai, in Egmore, the government museum. And it has an entire section on copper plates. That wonderful a collection they have, displayed very well, dynasty-wise. So what I'm showing you as written over here, Pallava 1, this is a coin that was found in a remote village called Maidavolu, and in Andhra Pradesh. The Pallavas ruled over Andhra Pradesh also. So what about this script? What script is it? And what language is it? And here I would like to tell you, young students, that there is a huge difference between a script and a language. I'm talking to you in English. And if you're going to write down the points from this lecture, if any one of you is doing it, generally we say we are writing in English. Yes, you're not wrong. You're writing in English. You're writing in the English language. But what script are you writing in? That script is the Roman script. Seldom do we realize it. So the language I'm speaking in, the language you're writing in is English, but the script in which you are actually putting it down is the Roman script. Similarly, some of the earliest inscriptions of the Pallavas, the famous Pallava dynasty that ruled over a huge portion of North Tamil Nadu and South Andhra Pradesh, their earliest inscriptions were in a language called Prakrit, which is generally understood to be a colloquial form of Sanskrit. All right, it was spoken by the common man. And the script in which it is written is the Grammy Script. Okay, many of you may not have heard of this name, many of you may have. So the Grammy Script is the earliest decipherable script of India, meaning it's the earliest script of India that can actually be read by people. Earlier than that is the script of the Indus Valley civilization, the Indus Saraswati civilization, which is, still being deciphered. Many people claim to have deciphered it, and there's a lot of controversy. So we leave that alone. So the earliest script of India that has been deciphered and that can be read by scholars, and many lay people also have taken an interest in reading the script, thankfully for that, is Brahmi. And so here in this inscription, this Pallava inscription, the script is Brahmi and the language is Prakrit. This is how it is. So you see, they wrote on these strips of copper, all equal size, equal dimensions, equal proportions. And right in the middle, or no, right at the corner of each of these strips, these plates, they made a hole. And then through that hole, they put a copper ring. And on top of the copper ring, they put the seal of the dynasty that was issuing it. So these were royal orders. These were royal documents. Suppose I am the king and I wish to give all of you who are attending my lecture a huge village for you to live in. So I would write that out on a copper plate, copper plates like this. And it would be tied with a seal. It would be tied with a ring. The seal of the king would be put there. In the case of the Pallavas, it was the bull emblem. It was put there just to show that it was an official seal. Like we have an official seal of the government of India, etc., etc. They also had an official seal. And then it was given to the people who are called the donees. So the king is the donor and the person or persons receiving it are the donees. So it was given to the donees. And that was a document for them to show that they were in control of that land or whatever it is, land or money, whatever it is, it was a document. All right. So this is one Pallava copper plate inscription. And there is another one also belonging to the 4th century. It looks like this, all from the Madras Museum. And yet another one. This is, now you can see clearly, that's why I showed this to you. This is not opened out, this is closed and kept. And here you have the ring passing through. Look how finely they have bored the hole in each of the sheets. And the ring goes through very easily. And this is the seal. I'm sorry, I'm not able to show you the seal properly. Okay. Then we come to the Chola period. Almost all the major dynasties of India have issued copper plate inscriptions. And they are a treasure because you get to know the name of the king. You get to know the script. You get to know the language. And also you also get to know the contents. It's not, see, there is a wrong assumption that all inscriptions, even those on the walls of temples, are religious in nature. Not necessarily. They may be donations given to the temple, to God. There may be donations given to scholars, etc., etc. But you get a lot of historical facts from them. You get to know the names of places, some of which have changed, some of which have not changed. You get to know of the names of currency. No, you know, the dinar is a currency that is used in the Middle East, in some countries in the Middle East. That same dinar was also dinara was used in the Chola times. How do we know all this? From inscriptions. You get to know a whole lot of information, how land measurements were done, the names of officials, the designations of officials, etc., etc., etc. So this is a Chola copper plate inscription of the time of Uttama Chola, who was the immediate predecessor of Rajaraja Chola. Now here, I'm going to show you one of the most massive inscriptions. So this is 31. The Pallava inscriptions are important. I'm talking about Tamil Nadu now. Their contemporaries, the Pandyas, also issued copper plate inscriptions. When the Guptas were ruling in the north, the Cholas were here. The Guptas did. The Chalukyas in the Karnataka area mainly, they also issued a whole lot of dynasties in India. I'm not naming all of them. I don't have the time. But several dynasties in India issued huge inscriptions, copper plate inscriptions. And among them, the Cholas topped the list. So this was found in a place called Tattvãloka, the inscription that I'm just going to show you. And it belongs to the reign of Rajendra Chola, the son and successor of Rajaraja Chola, who lived in the 11th century. To be precise, his date was, he ruled from 1012 to 1044. Now, this inscription has 31 copper sheets and weighs 92 kg. Can you believe that? You and I will be struggling to lift this. 92 kg. So shall we see how it looks? This is how the Tattvãloka copper plate inscription looks. Talks about a donation to the temple, the Shiva temple in Tattvãloka. These many copper sheets, they are inscribed on either side. It's like a notebook. It's like a spiral notebook. You can turn, 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 turn and read. Now, what is important about many of the Chola copper plate inscriptions is that they are bilingual, meaning the first part or the introduction, which is called a prashasti, will be in Sanskrit, in Sanskritam. And the script now, it's not Brahmi anymore. The script for writing Sanskritam would be Grantha. Grantha was a script that was widely used in the Tamil country. And then after the Sanskrit portion gets over, you have the Tamil part. So the Tamil part, obviously language is Tamil, script is also Tamil. But even if you can read and write Tamil very well today, you may struggle a little, at least, to read the Tamil, because over 1,000 years since the time of Rajendra Chola, the Tamil script has evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. I'll show you some Chola inscriptions later. Here also, they bored a hole, put a ring, put a ring, and then put a seal on top. So we all know that the famous crest, emblem, royal emblem of the Cholas was the tiger. We get to see the tiger. Now, another inscription, huge copper plate inscription of the Cholas is called the Karandai Tamil Sangam copper plate inscription, also of the reign of Rajaraja Chola. Can you believe? 57 copper plates weighing approximately 111 kg. Can we lift this? I wonder. So this is how, also in the Madras Museum, this is how it looks. Solid. Look at the size of these plates. Look at how it is written. And then the ring and the seal. So now let's get a look at the seal. This is how the seal looks. There is an inscription right on the rim. And it actually says that this is a Shasana. This is an edict of Rajendra Chola. Now here, don't laugh, this is the tiger. Okay, they put it like this. And why have they put two fish in front of the tiger? The fish emblem is that of the Pandya dynasty. Not one fish, but two fish, and always vertically like this. So the tiger, the Cholas, had conquered the Pandyas. So the fish are like this. Underneath the tiger, you have a small thing. You have to understand what that is. It looks like a rabbit, but it's not. It's a boar, B-O-A-R. It's a wild pig. It's a boar. And the boar was the symbol of the Chalukyan dynasty, the Chalukyas of Kalyana. So the Cholas had defeated the Chalukyas, so the boar is here. Now, let's look at what is there on top. The umbrella, the Chhatra, the royal umbrella, the Shweta Chhatra of the Chola kings, and then two fly whisks. Those days they didn't have fans, right? So the king, there were two people on either side of the king fanning him. And it's a symbol of royalty, the fly whisk. The umbrella is also a symbol of royalty. Then on this side and on this side, you have the two traditional auspicious lamps, the Kuttuvilakku. Here you have the flag of the Cholas flying high. Here also the flag of the Cholas flying high. Underneath you have a drum. Why drum? Why should there be a drum? It's there to proclaim the greatness of that dynasty. You drum. And then this is a Simhasana. This is a throne, the royal throne. It's also a symbol of power, right? Prestige. Swastika, sure, it's a very auspicious symbol. The Padma, the Tamara, the lotus, again, auspiciousness. So this is what the ring of the Cholas consists of. So not very big, like that only. And inside that, they have put so many things. All right. So this is the Karanda copper plate inscription, and this is the seal that I just showed you. Now we go to one more copper plate inscription of the Cholas, and that is the Thiru Indalur copper plate inscription of Rajendra Chola, the second son of Rajendra Chola, 85 copper sheets and weighs 150 kg. This is how it is. Again, in the Madras Museum, easily one of the biggest copper plate inscriptions found till now. You know how they found it? All these were found by accident. Now, this was lying underneath a temple in Indalur, which is very near Mayavaram, Mayiladurai. And while they were renovating the Shiva temple called the Kailasnatha temple, suddenly they discovered something solid. And with great effort, they pulled it out and they found that the invaluable copper plate inscription of the Cholas was found here. Seal and all, ring and all, these many plates weighing these many kgs. For historians, for archaeologists, for scholars, these are like made of gold or platinum. Just saying. Because it's a treasure trove of information about this dynasty. Social history, economic history, political history, cultural history, we can learn so much from them. Now we are traveling further in time and we are coming to the Vijayanagara Dynasty, the famous Vijayanagara Dynasty that was established in 1326 on the banks of the river Tungabhadra in a place that is called Hampi today. So see how the design changes, everything changes. 1336, I'm sorry, that was a slip of the tongue. Then this is how it looks. Now, what is the script? What is the language? In this particular copper plate inscription of the Vijayanagara dynasty, the script is Sanskritam. The language is Sanskritam. The script is called Nandi Nagari. In fact, if many of you know the Devanagari script in which we write Sanskritam today, you can understand many of the words over here. But yet, there are changes because it's been 500 years since this inscription was etched. And over these 500 years, many changes in the script have come about. So this is big, much bigger than bigger, meaning the size of the plates is bigger. These are only 5 plates over here. Size of the plates is bigger than the Chola inscriptions. Number of plates is in this particular copper plate inscription is not much. So again, you have a ring, you have a seal. I'll show you the seal soon. Now, right at the end of the inscription, you have something written over here. And this is not in Sanskritam. The script is like the Telugu Kannada script over here. Now, I'll tell you later why most of the Vijayanagara copper plate inscriptions right at the end have something that is not in the Devanagari script. So look at this. This one is also Sanskritam language. The script is Nandi Nagari, which is very much like the Devanagari that we write today. So the ring, coming to the ring and to the seal, this is what you have. And this is also a wild boar, Varaha. If you look very carefully, you see the moon. This is a crescent moon and this is the sun. That was the crest of the Vijayanagara dynasty. Now this is the official emblem that you see over here. There is the wild boar, the Varaha. There is a sword in front, knife or a sword. You have the Surya, the sun, Chandra, moon up there. Now, what was the meaning of this symbol, this emblem? Why did they do it? So the Vijayanagara rulers had an intent and a purpose. You see, before they established the small kingdom in 1336 on the banks of the river Tungabhadra, the city that is today called Hampi, there were several invasions from the north to the south. There were devastating invasions, and the political stability of South India was completely gone. Economic prosperity was gone. Culturally, there was no effervescence. So 2 invasions in 1310, 1311, and in 1323 from north. Huge invasions. And in order to put an end to those kind of invasions, the Vijayanagara dynasty was formed by 2 young men, Harihara and Buka, with the help of their mentor, Swami Vidyaranya of the Sringeri Matha. Now this symbol, coming back to it, Varaha is like representing the Varaha incarnation of Vishnu. Many of you may know that the Varaha incarnation of Vishnu was taken for the sole purpose of rescuing goddess Earth from the clutches of a horrible demon called Hiranyaksha. So they said, like Varaha rescued the earth, we are going to protect South India. How? With the help of our arms, the sword. And for how long are we going to do that? As long as Surya and Chandra exist. That's what they wanted to do. for well over 400 years, they succeeded in putting an end to invasions from the north to the south. If you are sitting here in the audience today, and if I am talking about the Vijayanagara Dynasty and the Cholas, etc., 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 it's because these people did that. They helped put a stem to the tide of invasions from the north to the south. Anyway, now coming back to this last line that I showed you in the inscriptions, the rest of the inscription may be in Sanskritam. They also wrote in Kannada. They also wrote in Tamil. Many of their inscriptions, the Vijayanagara inscriptions, are in Tamil also. The last line reads Sri Virupaksha. Now just take an example. The best known king of the Vijayanagara dynasty, Sri Krishnadevaraya. If he gave a donation, and if that donation was recorded in a copper plate inscription, he would say, I Krishnadevaraya, give his location wherever he was located at the point of time, and he'll mention the details of the donation that he was going to give. But right at the end, his name would not be there. It would be Sri Virupaksha, because the family deity of the Vijayanagara emperors was Virupaksha, Shiva, whose temple we see in Hampi even today. Therefore, when they wrote the inscriptions, they signed it Sri Virupaksha, saying they were ruling on behalf of the Lord himself. He was the ruler. They were, in a way, only regents. They were ruling on behalf of Virupaksha. So here is an inscription. The language is in Sanskritam. The alphabets, the letters, the script is in Kannada. So that also happens. So you can see, look how beautifully they have etched it. That's on copper. Now we come to stone inscriptions. We are in Tamil Nadu. I also want to tell you, young students, how inscriptions are actually copied. This is a photo of a very senior epigraphist, meaning a person who is a scholar in studying inscriptions. And this is his assistant. So when they see inscriptions on the walls of a temple, they'll put a thick piece, it's a special paper, they'll put it on the wall of a temple. They'll put water on it, and that's why there's a bucket of water here. And then can you see there's a pot of ink here? It's very special ink, and they put it on the paper, not on the wall. They put it on the paper. So what happens is the imprint of the inscription comes off on the paper. And then they very carefully peel it off the wall. They dry it. It's taken back to the office of the Archaeological Survey of India. And then the inscription is read. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work. What you're looking at here is a Tamil inscription. And those of you who know Tamil may understand one R or a Ni or a Ma or a Ru, V, etc. But reading it itself is a little difficult because you have to learn that script and you have to be well informed about how to read it. So this is how they copy inscriptions. All right, like this. You can clearly see how the script has come out on this paper, and it's a lot of hard work. And here, can you see, just for this little inscription and one here, these people have put a ladder in a swamp. One is holding it, one has climbed up. It's a dangerous job as well. So inscriptions are important. They are in various scripts and in various languages across India. You have to be a specialist to study inscriptions. Coins, of course, we've gone through. Now let's come to manuscripts. Many of you may have seen palm leaf manuscripts. Now the thing about coins is they're made of metal, mostly. Inscriptions are on the walls of temples on stone, or they are on thick sheets of copper. So they are also mostly safe. But when you come to palm leaf manuscripts, this is biodegradable material. And they do become brittle and they turn into powder after a few centuries. So all the palm leaf manuscripts that you are seeing today have been copied and recopied and recopied and recopied across many centuries, and they've come down to us today. All right. So this is how here, in the case of palm leaf manuscripts, a hole is bored through and a string is attached. So here you have subjects written as varied as astronomy, astrology, medicine, Ayurvedic texts, Siddha texts are sometimes written on palm leaf manuscripts. And you have poems, you have dramas, you have a host of many subjects, science subjects, art subjects, so many things. You know, the famous text, the Arthashastra. All of you would have heard of the Arthashastra of Kautilya, Chanakya, who was the minister of Chandragupta Maurya. You know, he lived in the 3rd century BC. Can we imagine the manuscript on which that man painstakingly wrote the Arthashastra, that scholar? It won't be available to us in the original form even today. No, it won't be. So what has happened is over the centuries, it was written, rewritten. Finally, one copy was deposited in a manuscript library in Mysore, accidentally discovered by a scholar named Shama Shastri, translated, and now the whole world knows about the Arthashastra. It has been translated into ever so many foreign languages, and everybody knows what a great text on administration, what a great treatise it is. So this is also a manuscript in a very, very different shape. Now, manuscripts, how do you keep a palm leaf manuscript together? Like we have thick covers for our books, cardboard covers or leather covers for our books. Those days we used wood on either side of a manuscript to keep together, and they would tie it with a string. And you also have illustrated palm leaf manuscripts like these. All right. And can you look at this now? This is a book, a drama. You can read the title, Matta Vilasa Prahasana. This was a drama. And it was written by a famous king of the Pallava Dynasty called Mahendra Varman. Many of you may have heard his name. This was in the 7th century CE, 7th century. It is sitting in Kanchipuram. He wrote this drama. Now you have it in the form of a book, translated into English. And students of Sanskritam read this. Students of English also read it. Students of history, scholars of various fields read this drama. It gives you a beautiful idea of how things were in the 7th century. This king was very candid. He said there is corruption in the courts. He said a whole lot of nice things and derogatory things about his own kingdom. He was an extraordinary king, this Mahendra Varman. So now it's a book, and you and I can just buy it online and we can read it. But then this manuscript was like this, perhaps one of the many manuscripts that I showed you. And again, written, rewritten, copied, recopied over many centuries, and it has come down to us. Many have also, unfortunately, been lost. Now we are going into history. I've given you some sources. There are many more sources, archaeological excavations, literature from foreigners like Marco Polo, Huyen Sang, Fa Hien. So many foreigners came into India. They've all left behind their accounts. Those are also very important, but I don't have time to go into each and every one of them. Now I'm showing you a map of Ashoka's empire. You've all heard of Ashoka, 3rd century BC, the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Now everything marked on this map, the dots and the triangles and all that, are places which are very, very important for Ashoka, in the sense of there are inscriptions over there, there are pillars over there, his edicts, these are called Ashokan edicts. We generally don't call them Ashokan inscriptions. That's not wrong at all. You can call them inscriptions, but edicts because he was generally giving orders. Now, let's look at what script and what language Ashoka wrote those inscriptions in. Now, I'll come to that very soon. So you're looking at one of the pillars of Ashoka. All the pillars of Ashoka were made of a stone called sandstone. And much of that sandstone was quarried from a place called Chunar. Chunar is near Kashi, Varanasi. But the pillars of Ashoka are found in various places across North India. They're even found in Nepal. They're found in a place called Lumbini, which was the birthplace of the Buddha. We all know that Ashoka was a Buddhist and he did his best to spread Buddhism. Now, the pillars of Ashoka are really tall, really tall. This one is in a place called Lauriya Nandhankar, this one that you see. And it's completely one piece of stone till here. And then the top part, which is called a capital, is made of another piece of stone. Many of the capitals of Ashoka have the lion, including the national emblem of India. I'll come to that later. Why the lion? Why should the capitals of many of these pillars have the lion symbol? The reason is not far to seek. Buddha, Gautama Buddha, was also called Shakya Simha. Shakya because he belonged to the Shakya clan, and the Simha because he was roaring like a lion, meaning he was spreading his philosophy like that. So Shakya Simha, and so the lion is symbolized in Buddhism. The Buddha is symbolized in Buddhism, in literature and in sculpture as a lion. So the lion is also one of the guardians of the 4 different directions. All right. So the lion is there. Pillar is very, very tall, highly polished sandstone. If you look at the sculptures, the pillars of the Mauryas, you can see a lot of polish on them. That polish remains till today after 2,300 years of being exposed to the sun, rain, wind, etc. That polish remains. So why did the Mauryas polish their pillars? Why did they ask their sculptors and architects to polish their pillars? Why? How did they learn this technique? In all likelihood, scholars know that it is because you all know of Alexander the Great, who came from Macedonia. And he came up to the banks of the river Indus. He didn't enter India proper today, mostly because there was a formidable dynasty called the Nandas ruling a huge portion of North India before Chandragupta Maurya. One of the reasons why Alexander's army did not cross the Indus and come into the India proper of today. Now, when the Greeks went back, when Alexander retreated with his army, he left behind certain governors. So there were still Greeks ruling over, today's part of today's Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc. And many of the sculptures made then had this polish technique. And the Mauryas imbibed this technique from them. And many of their pillars and the sculptures, therefore, have this high degree of polish, which is not there in post-Mauryan times. So here, you get a clear idea of how the capital looks. This is a pillar in a place called Lauria Nandhangar, a remote village today. Now, where did Ashoka ask his people to put up pillars? So where would you put up an advertisement hoarding today? You would put up in a place where people see it. So Ashoka's pillars were mostly in 2 places. One, where people could actually see them at crossroads, on trade routes, etc. The second place where Ashoka put up his pillars were places that were very important to the Buddha. Lumbini, birthplace of the Buddha. Sarnath, the place where Buddha gave his first lecture, the deer park in Sarnath, etc., etc. All right. So, this is a place called Vaishali, which was in Bihar today, which is very famous as a Buddhist center. And here also you have a lion capital. Look at that, how realistic that lion is, sitting there from 2,300 years ago. So this is a stupa, which inside which is a relic of the Buddha or one of the Buddhist teachers, one of the Buddha acharyas. So this is how the Vaishali pillar looks. Okay. And then we are very, very quickly going to Lumbini, the birthplace of the Buddha, which is now in Nepal. And here is a pillar. The capital on top is unfortunately missing. This is Lumbini, where people from all over the world, Buddhists from various parts of the world, come to pray. Now, we all know this as the emblem of the government, the Republic of India. We know it's a 4-lion capital. We know that there are 4 animals here: the bull, the horse, the elephant, and the lion. Now, these 4 animals are the guardians of the 4 different directions in Buddhism. In between these animals is a wheel. Now, when asked, we will say it's the Ashoka Chakra. Unfortunately, that's not the right answer. Now, why should we call this Ashoka Chakra? The only reason why we can call it an Ashoka Chakra is because this chakra is there on the capital of a pillar that was made in the time of Ashoka. That's all. That's not the correct answer. It's not Ashoka Chakra. This is called the Buddha Dharma Chakra. Now, what is the Buddha Dharma Chakra? What does it mean? What does it signify? So this chakra is a wheel, as you all know. So what does a wheel do? it moves, it goes forward, right? So this actually symbolizes, this chakra symbolizes, is symbolic of the philosophy of the Buddha moving forward. That is, Buddha was spreading his philosophy. His students were spreading his religion, his philosophy, his thoughts, etc. So Buddha Dharma Chakra. Dharma is the philosophy of the Buddha. Okay, so there's the Buddha Dharma Chakra. There are 4 in the 4 directions, and there are 4 animals between them. The 4 lions, again, I've told you the significance of the lions. Okay, so this capital, highly polished capital, is now in a museum in this place called Sarnath, which is very, very close to Kashi. All right. So here was an Ashoka pillar in Sarnath. It was 15.25 meters high, highly polished. It was made of the Chunar sandstone. That is sandstone from this place called Chunar. Now, what happened was that pillar unfortunately broke like this. Okay? Very unfortunately, the pillar broke. When that pillar broke, what happened was this capital fell down. Can you see that? It fell down. From that height, it fell down, and this also broke. So when you look at the emblem today, just give me a second, please. When you look at the emblem today, it appears perfect. It's not. It's actually very badly broken. How was it broken? So this is how it actually looked. Now, this is a replica that is found in Thailand. So once upon a time, originally, on top of the 4-lion capital, there was another Buddha Dharma Chakra, very big one. And then when that pillar broke, we don't know how it broke, this fell down, and that top chakra, that vertical one, broke. It's not there. Even now, if you go to the museum in Sarnath and you look at the top of the heads of the lions, you can see a ridge where the chakra was. All right. Now, here is an inscription on the pillar of Ashoka in Sarnath, still to be seen. This script is again the Grammy Script, and the language is Prakrit. So when Ashoka was ruling in the north, at the same time in central India, what we call the Deccan area, there was a dynasty called the Satavahanas. Famous dynasty, right down bottommost part, southernmost portion of India, right down Tamil Nadu, where many of the participants here in this lecture are from. There was what is called the Sangam Age, and the Cheras, the Cholas, and the Pandyas were ruling here. They knew of the existence of Ashoka. Ashoka knew of the existence of the Cheras, Cholas, etc. It's given in an inscription of Ashokas. The script used in the north at that time was Brahmi. The same script was used in down south, Land's End, Tamil Nadu. Today, same script was used. We don't know which is older. It's a huge debate. I'm not getting into that. It's just that in the 3rd century BC, here in Tamil Nadu, there in the north, the same script. The same script was used virtually throughout India, this Brahmi script. The language up there was Prakrit. The language down here also Prakrit was known. The language that was written here was Tamil. Okay. So when your Kautilya was writing his Arthashastra, he was writing it in Sanskrit language in the Brahmi script. He was writing in the Brahmi script. When Tiruvallur was composing his Tirukural right down here in Tamil Nadu, down south, he also was writing in the Brahmi script, but his language was Tamil. You understand? Language between north and south was different. The script was the same. It was a unifying factor. There are changes. There are some differences between the Ashokan Brahmi, as we call it, and that same script that was found in Tamil Nadu. Some, but mostly it's the same script. Okay, so this is how that Brahmi script looks. Now, many of the pillars of Ashoka have been damaged, and the capitals alone have been safeguarded and kept. So this is a bull capital, very lifelike, of one of Ashoka's pillars. Now, enough about Ashoka, enough about pillars, enough about inscriptions. So where are we going now? We just had very, very heavy rains in India, especially in Tamil Nadu, where most of you are from. We know what a deluge there was in November. So in the monsoon months, there's lots of rain. In India, from the Indus Saraswati times, Indus civilization, Indus Valley civilization, which we mostly now call Indus Saraswati civilization, we've had structures that were meant for storing water. You all know of the famous Great Bath. It's today in Pakistan, in Mohenjo-daro. That is also for storing water. Now, coming down south, many of you may have visited or at least seen pictures, photographs of this temple. This is the famous Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple. I want to show you how, in the remaining time that I have, how much the kings of India, the common people of India, worked very, very hard for storing water. When the monsoon comes, there is extra water. And then in the dry summer months, there's no water. So how do we actually harness that water? Harvest. Today, water harvesting, we hear about it. But our forefathers, our ancients, did so much for storing water. In Gangaikonda Cholapuram, this temple is very famous. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Everybody goes there. But just a few kilometers from this temple is a huge irrigation tank. Today, it's called Pon Eri. But in the time of Rajendra Chola, it was called Chola Gangam, the Ganga of the Cholas. The reason was because we all know that Rajendra Chola sent an army all the way to the north, to Bengal, and he defeated the kings en route. All the kings were defeated, and they brought back waters of the river Ganga. And he is called Gangaikonda Chola. The capital that he built was called Gangaikonda Cholapuram. The temple that was built in his time is called Gangaikonda Cholishwaram. And this irrigation lake, artificially created irrigation lake, huge. It's one of the largest irrigation lakes ever created in India at any time. Huge. It was meant for irrigating, for water supply to the town of Gangaikonda Cholapuram, also for the huge areas of cultivable land that were around that city. So much water was stored over here. And we understand that maybe the waters of the Ganga that he brought were also poured into this, this irrigation tank. It was called Chola Gangam, the Ganga of the Cholas. It's today, unfortunately, very little water remains. I took a photograph in the summer months. There's a lot of place where there is no water storage. It was huge, very, very, very big. And just to tell you how much the kings did for storing water. Monsoon times, catch the water, store it for the dry summer months, for the people living in towns and cities and villages, mainly for irrigation, which was for agriculture, backbone of the economy at those points of time. So this is the Chola Gangam. I'm now taking you to Telangana, to the land of a dynasty called the Kakatiyas, and near a place called Palampet, which is close to a famous town called Varangal. Here is again a huge, huge irrigation lake. It's called the Ramapa Lake. Again, water storage and to supply for irrigation. The Ramapa Lake is very famous. I'm taking you to Tirupati, now in Andhra Pradesh. The Tirupati temple has a small temple tank like this, where the Tattvãloka, the float festival, etc. take place. That's a Tirupati tank. Now, most of you would have been to Tirupati, so I showed it to you. Now, many of you may not have gone to a place called Mannargudi. It's a small town where there is a big Vishnu temple for the deity called Rajagopala Swami. This is the deity, Krishna. This is the Utsavamurti, the processional deity of this temple is Krishna. Anyway, why I'm showing you this temple is because it has got the largest temple tank in the whole of India. And when I say the largest temple tank in the whole of India, it must be the largest temple tank in the whole of the world. It is more than 25 acres. The temple tank alone is more than 25 acres. See, excuse me. These temple tanks had a religious purpose. The Teppa Utsavam, or the float festival for the god, was celebrated here. Pilgrims used to have their devotees used to have their bath in the temple tank every day and then go into the temple. The religious factor was there. Not for a moment am I saying no. Yes, that was primary, and that was why temple tanks were there, are there. In addition to that, think of that other angle of water harvesting. This temple tank brimming with water, so many meters deep, so many meters wide, acres wide, would store that much water. Tanks like this, small ones, big ones, never mind, full of water in the monsoon months. And slowly what would happen is the water level would go down, 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 down in the summer months. The water would seep in through the mud and the sand and the clayey soil at the bottom of the tank. What they would do is they would recharge the wells in the houses around them. So water scarcity was hardly known. So this is not the temple. This is a small island in the middle of this Managudi temple tank. Incidentally, this temple tank has a name. It's called Haridra Nadi. Okay. So, in fact, many copper coins were accidentally discovered from the bottom of this tank. We are going to another temple town. It's called Thiruvarur, famous for the Shiva temple dedicated to Tyagaraja Swami. Here also, very, very big temple tank called the Kamalalayam, but it's smaller, slightly smaller than the one in Manargudi. Okay, huge, huge temple tank here. Now, Chidambaram, inside the temple itself, it has a tank. All these, oh, there is a huge irrigation tank very near Chidambaram. Its place is called Viranam. This is called the Viranam Area. Area in Tamil means a lake or a reservoir, etc. Now, this area was created in the Chola times of around the 10th century. Huge. You really can't see the other end at all. This is also part of the heritage of India. You see, huge, 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 huge one. So huge and so full of water. Over the centuries, it has been helping in irrigation, water supply to various places. And in modern times, this Veera Narayana Area, as it was originally called, became shortened into Viranam Area, supplies water to the city of Chennai also. So something that was created by a Chola prince called Rajaditya in the 9th century, 10th century, sorry, still today is a huge area where water is stored. It's kilometers in breadth and in length, and helps the city, the overburdened water scarce city of Chennai even today. Let's go across to Hampi, the capital of the Vijayanagara Empire. How many water bodies there are? How many water bodies there are? So it is situated next to the river Tungabhadra. Pushkarini is the Sanskrit word for what, tank, water. So there are Pushkarinis of very many temples. They are full in the monsoon months. Many of these temples are not in active use, but the temple tanks continue to flourish. Okay, so that is of the Vittala temple. Now look at that. This is, nobody who goes to Hampi misses this. Where selfies are taken, movies are taken. Nobody comes back without a selfie next to this temple tank. And the tank, it's not a temple tank, it's called a step tank. All tanks have steps. So why call this a step tank? Because the steps are so beautifully designed. That's why. Okay. This is a step tank in Hampi. When there is hardly any water, you can see all the steps, the designs beautifully. But when water is there, and that's what it's meant to be like, the steps are not seen. Now, what is important here is people see this, they come away taking photographs. You should look at this also. Now, these are called Aqua Ducks. So, aqua as in water, duct as in a carrier. So, those days, water was brought to the city of Vijayanagara, today's Hampi, and this is how the tank got filled. Monsoon times also it got filled, but these are the beautiful temple tank. Beautiful tank. And these were the aqua ducts, like this. Now we go to North India. In the next 5 minutes, I'll wrap up. We go to North India. This is a place called Abhineri near Jaipur in Rajasthan. So the states of Rajasthan and to an extent even Gujarat are very, very, very well known for their stepped tanks. The reason is that many parts of Rajasthan, as you know, are desert. Water is very important. Water storage is very important. Those days, when travelers used to come from one place to another by foot, or traders used to carry things on their camels or horses or mules or buffaloes, whatever. They used to go from place to place in their caravans, carrying a whole lot of things. They need places to rest. They needed drinking water. The people of the local villages also needed water. So these were water harvesting units. Okay, just give me a second. So this is the famous step tank in a place called Abaneri, meters deep. Look at the design. Can you imagine the effort they have taken to, they could have made it a simple, straightforward tank, but no, beauty was infused into everything utilitarian. Everything that had use also had beauty. Look at that. Water harvesting unit today, but then a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Look at this. This is also a step tank. And this. And Adhalaj is a place in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. This is also a step well. Goes meet 1499, 15th century. It was built by a queen called Rudha Bhai. Keeps going. It is under the care of the Archaeological Survey of India. It's a monument of national importance. At ground level, when you walk in, it's like this. You don't realize what you're going to see. So you keep walking in and then you start climbing down. See, we are climbing down now. Going down. Mantapa after mantapa after mantapa, we are climbing down, 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 down. See, that many levels down we are climbing. Right at the bottom is a well. That's a source for the water. Can you imagine when you're a weary, tired traveler who has crossed so many kilometers with all your wear and your camels and so many other things, animals, you have so many responsibilities. If you rest over here, it's like walking into an air-conditioned room, far healthier. It's an open air-conditioned room, and it's so cool, so spacious. There's water to drink for you, your animals, all your people coming with you, etc. Right? So this is the Adalaj Vav. You can even see the moss where the water was once upon a time. The Sun Temple in Modera in Gujarat also has a beautiful tank. And we go to last few slides. It's a place called Rani Ki Vav, again in Gujarat. Again, you walk into this place guarded by the Archaeological Survey of India. Ground level, you don't see anything. And then you start walking down, keep going down, meters and meters and meters under the ground. Mantapa after mantapa after mantapa, we are walking down, seeing all these beautiful sculptures. See how deep it goes. This is the most famous step well in India. In Gujarat and in the whole of India, it was declared to be a UNESCO World Heritage Site a few years ago. Look at that beauty. Look at the utilitarian value. So I'll stop with this for today. Those of you who have any questions, please ask. I can see that there are many things in chat, and I will request my friend Ramak Shirsagar to read out some of these questions to me. But please ask questions one after the other if you have now.
Hi, Akka. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Rama.
Yes. Akka, mainly, could you please state the difference between Gopuram and Vimanam?
All right, that's question number one. Good question. So in the south, this question will apply only to a temple in South India and mostly to temples in Tamil Nadu. Because it is a structure that is seen very widely in the temples of Tamil Nadu, and in a few places in Andhra, Karnataka, and Kerala also, but mostly in Tamil Nadu. So the Gopuram, which is like this, as you all know, is the entrance way into a temple. You enter the doorway. On top of that is this pyramidal structure, which is called a Gopuram. Can be small. It can be very, very tall. Could be full of sculptures. Maybe there are sometimes very few sculptures, but an entrance way into a temple is a Gopuram. Sometimes a temple may have just one Gopuram. Sometimes it may have 14, like the Madurai Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple. There are 21 in the Ranganatha Swami temple in Srirangam. Just depends. So the Gopuram is an entrance way. The Vimanam is a different structure altogether. The Vimanam is a sanctum, the place of worship. The whole thing is called a Vimanam, but mostly the topmost part, which is generally circular, it could be any shape, generally circular, is called a Vimanam. So the Vimanam of the Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple looks like a Gopuram, but it's a Vimanam. So we have to note where it is. If it's an entrance, it's a Gopuram. If it is on top of a place of worship, it's a Vimanam. Never mind the height, never mind the color, never mind the shape. It's where it is that marks a difference between a Gopuram and a Vimanam. Anybody else? Any other question, Rama?
Yes, we have received a question where students are asking the difference between the script and the language.
Okay, maybe I was not clear enough. I'll make it very clear now. So I repeat, I'm talking in English. You all understand English, so you understand what I'm saying. I'm talking in English. But as I can see some of you writing down, as you write down, you're writing the English language, but the script in which you're writing is called the Roman script, A, B, C, D, E. That's actually called the Roman script. Okay. Similarly, you know Sanskritam, one of the oldest languages of the world. So I'll make this slightly more complicated. Any language can be written in any script. So my name is Chithra. That name Chithra is a Sanskrit word. But generally when I write it in the Roman script, Chithra. I can write it in Tamil script. I can write it in Devanagari. That is a script in which you use to write Hindi. I can write it in Japanese, Chinese, German, etc. I can write it in any script. So any language can be written in any script. So there was this ancient script called the Grammy Script. Even now you can, if you know that script, you can write your name in it. Many do. So in ancient India, Ashoka's inscriptions in the 3rd century BC were written in that Brahmi script. Same time, South India, lands and Tamil Nadu, same script was used for writing the Tamil language. So please understand, any script can be used in any, written in any language can be written in any script. And we'll finish with the chats first, and then those of you who are raising your hands can actually ask the questions. I have time, not an issue. So next, Rama.
Yes, another question is, how are the texts and scripts on the copper plates or stupas deciphered or found out?
Okay, so there are people called archaeologists who spend their lives learning about old monuments. And there are some of them who specialize in scripts, learning ancient scripts. Now, these people are called epigraphists because the study of ancient inscriptions is called epigraphy. So these people have to, you can't be a specialist in all scripts and all languages. That's not possible. So there are some Persian epigraphists, there are some Sanskrit epigraphists, some Tamil, some Gujarati, etc., some Bengali, etc. So they painstakingly, with a great deal of effort, they learn the ancient scripts and then they read them. So if you want to learn the Brahmi script, it's possible even today. You can learn it. You can learn it with a lot of effort. And then you can go and read the Ashokan inscriptions, or you can read the ancient Tamil inscriptions in Tamil Nadu. It's possible. Even now, people from computer engineers, lawyers, etc., are taking a lot of interest in archaeology. They are learning ancient scripts. It's thrilling to be able to read something that was written 1,000 years ago. Very thrilling. So Grantha, etc., these are all scripts that are not used today, but you can still learn. There are people to teach you. Yes? Rama, next question?
Yeah, I think we can ask people to unmute themselves and...
Fine. Okay, go ahead, one after the other, please.
Kaushika, you can ask your question. Okay, I'll just read out her question.
Okay.
A temple known for its... one second, Akka.
Yeah.
A temple known for its a temple known for its musical notes in its pillars. When we bang on the pillars, it gives the sound of a note in Carnatic music. So, is it related to history?
Yeah. So you see, these musical pillars are found in a whole lot of places in South India. And mostly they belong to the Vijayanagara Dynasty. Okay? 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, etc. Very difficult to make a musical pillar because these people were actually geologists, some of them, and they had to search for a stone that was called resonant stone that would produce a sound, a particular sounds when tapped. So you search for those kind of stones, quarry them, carry them, put them up in a temple, sculpt them beautifully. Next lecture, I'll show them to you. You sculpt them so beautifully that even if you didn't know it was a musical pillar, it looks great. It looks great. And then when you tap them with a small stone, a pebble, or with a piece of wood, you get the Saptaswara, Sarigama Padani. Not only Carnatic music, the Saptaswara are universal. So you get the Sarigama Padani. What's even more interesting is, from pillar to pillar, there's a variation in the pitch also. So Sarigama Padanisa, Sarigama Padanisa, you have different pitches in different pillars. How great were our ancients and how great is our heritage? So happy you asked this question.
Thank you.
We have another question.
Yeah.
The Ashoka pillar with a huge wheel on top of them is or was in Thailand was broken, or the one in India was broken down?
Okay. I have to make this a little clear. So the original Ashokan pillar with the 4-lion capital and the wheel on top was in Sarnath, very near Kashi, Uttar Pradesh. That was the one that was broken and the capital fell down. The wheel on top broke and the two parts of the pillar are still there. You can see them in Sarnath. The capital, the 4-lion capital without that wheel on top is also there in the museum in Sarnath. The pillar that was made like the original with the wheel on top is in Thailand today. That was made approximately in the 13th century. Ashoka's pillar belongs to the 3rd century BC. Thailand pillar is 13th century AD. It is there in Thailand. But this Ashokan pillar in Sarnath is broken. Yes?
Before the emblem pillar fell, was it called as the emblem?
No. It was only after it became the Republic of India that capital, Ashoka's capital, was chosen as the, after independence, it was chosen as the emblem of the government of India.
Okay. The next question is, do we need to consider the 4 lions? Four line with wheel on top of its heads as the original one, rather the one prevailing today on our currency notes and government stamps?
Very sweet question. But you see, what is gone is gone. That wheel on top is gone. We know it was there, but it's not there. So what is left? The 4 lions and the beautiful design of the 4 animals and the Dharma Chakra at the bottom. Beautiful enough. And it is our national emblem. For us, it's very sacred. Our national emblem is sacred. We'll take it as it is. What's gone is gone. Okay. Next.
Okay. Akka, could you state the difference between the stones which were built for castles and palaces and temples?
So you see, the good one. In ancient times, palaces weren't built of stone. No. You don't see a single ancient palace today. You see palaces in Rajasthan, okay, but they're not the original ancient palaces. Where is the palace of Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka, Samudragupta, Raja, Rajendra, Pulikeshin, the great emperors, great emperors? I'm leaving out many names. Great emperors of India. Where are their castles? Where are their palaces? No, they were not made of stone. They were made of wood and they were made of brick. Some remains are found, that's all. Nothing more than that. But why were they not made of stone? These people knew how to build of stone. They had the most beautiful temples made of stone, but not palaces, because they said this was their philosophy, beautiful philosophy. Think of what the ancient Indians were. We are mortal, said these kings. We are going to die. So our houses should never be permanent. The gods are immortal. The gods live on forever. So let their houses be permanent. So very easily a Krishnadevaraya or a Chandragupta could have built a palace out of stone. Huge, big, thick walls that would have carried on till today. But they didn't. They didn't. They had all the money. They had the architects. They could have done anything they wished. They didn't do that. Look at the mind of the ancient Indian. Something to be proud of.
Also, another question related to that. Are
Yes?
all the carving handcrafted, or were they using some machines?
So mostly handcrafted. Mostly handcrafted. They had some tools. They would have had some tools like hammer, chisel, whatever. We don't even know what they had. They've not left any records, nor have we found any of the tools that they had in those times. Handcrafted. Today, there are some scholars saying that they may have had some machines. Some of the pillars, especially of the Hoysala period, that is in South Karnataka, some of the pillars were made of a basic machine called the lathe, which is like basically a circle and there's a hole in the middle. I'm putting it in a nutshell. So you put the stone in, then you turn it round and round, and it kind of makes ridges on the stone. This is a very basic explanation. I can't explain without the help of slides. No machines, hardly any machines were used, handcrafted. All the more reason why we should admire the sculptures and the pillars. See, you cut a stone from a hill or a mountain, you bring it. You have to cut it to the proper shape and size, put another stone on its place. How difficult. How did they build these temples? Every time we go into a temple and we pray to the gods, we also have to give a silent prayer to the people who made these structures possible for us. Okay, next.
Hari Om, Namaste. My name is Lakshmi.
Yes.
Ma'am, this question is, there are a few questions I would like to ask, especially the ones about the Ashokan pillars. You had earlier mentioned that Ashoka had, come up with these, pillars across India. Do we have any of these pillars still remaining in Tamil Nadu? Because in the map that you had shown, a lot are still remaining standing in many parts of northern India, at least up to some places in the Deccan Plateau. But we rarely hear about any of these things being found in Tamil Nadu. But you also mentioned that he had actually mentioned about the Tamil kings in his edicts.
Yes.
So is it that, we have lost them, or is it that he never had any of these things erected here? That is question number one.
I'll finish question number one and then you come to question number two.
Sure.
So regarding this, the pillars of Ashoka are not found in Tamil Nadu or anywhere in South India. However, inscriptions of Ashoka are found in Andhra Pradesh and in Karnataka. These are the edicts of Ashoka. They are found in a few places in these two states, Andhra, Karnataka. None in Tamil Nadu. Pillars also, none in Tamil Nadu. He knew about the Cheras, the Cholas, and the Pandyas. But Ashoka's jurisdiction didn't come into Tamil Nadu and Kerala. It did not. In a whole lot of places in North India and in today's Nepal, you find the pillars and pillars of Ashoka. Many parts of North India, you find his edicts as well. Found in Pakistan and Afghanistan also.
Okay. Ma'am, another question related to that is that when you talk about these edicts, are these actually found in the pillars, on the pillars themselves? Right.
Yes.
If they are going to be found on the pillars and the pillars are so tall, then how is it that people could read the edicts that are there on the pillars?
Very good question. I showed you the Sarnath pillar, the one that was broken. And I showed you an Ashoka's edict there. So at eye level. So the pillars are very tall. but it was not written right on top. For example, take our temples. The temple walls are very, very tall. But where do we find the inscriptions? At eye level or below eye level, where you can sit and read or stand and read. They didn't put the inscriptions right on top because the purpose was that it should be read by people. So even in the case of Ashoka's pillars, the inscriptions, even if a pillar was 50 feet tall, the inscriptions were not right there. They were at eye level where people could read.
Okay. Ma'am, coming to the copper plates, some of the images that you showed really contain some very huge, unliftable, weighing copper plates. Why is it that these copper plates have not been cleaned using modern technology in order to understand the contents very well? And when we talk about copper, what kind of mixture was actually used in the preparation of those plates? Are they pure copper plates, or are they alloys that would withstand the fury of nature to be seen by us at such a later date? And what kind of technology can be used in order to preserve the plates and read the contents very effectively? Because as days go by, we see that these inscriptions, they tend to become little unreadable, and therefore the contents may not be preserved well. So what are the latest technologies that we are using in order to preserve these plates, and what is the composition of those plates?
So as far as copper plate inscriptions are concerned, they've never been open to the elements, the sun, wind, and rain. These are documents. Like you would keep the patta of your house very safely in a locker or inside a cupboard. The people who received these copper plate inscriptions from the kings would keep them very, very safely. So there is absolutely no question about it being tarnished. And all the copper plate inscriptions have been well read by scholars, epigraphists. Many of them have been translated, very able, good translations are there. And in museums, they are very, very safe. So they are cleaned also. They are not there. Maybe my photographs were not good enough because they were taken through a glass case. But all of them have been read. The information from them have been taken by historians. Books have been written. Most copper plate inscriptions have been deciphered. They are in a very maybe dust, but dust will not harm them at all. Regarding the alloy, I am not 100% sure, but they are mostly copper only. Also unfortunate that many of them have been melted down for their metal value. That also is there. But rest assured, these copper plate inscriptions are far safer than the stone inscriptions on temples' walls, which are being damaged by the day. Okay.
That is true.
Next person, please.
They've been showing about the Pushkarinis of the South Indian temples. Did the North Indian Agama as well had a Pushkarini inside the temple by any chance?
All temples in the south and the north had Pushkarinis, without doubt. The reasons were the very many, mostly religious. As I said, I will not for a moment say there is no religious value. Religious value was there. So if you go to many of the temples of Orissa, you see Pushkarinis, Gujarat, so many, name it, they will be, if they are not there today, unfortunately, they are not there. They would have been there.
Okay.
And also for water harvesting. For each place in India, mostly there were Shiva temples and Vishnu temples in each village. Imagine every temple having a small or a big Pushkarini. Imagine them being filled with water. And moreover, unlike now, those days, they did dredge the temple tanks and the irrigation tanks, dredging, cleaning, so many. If you read the inscriptions, they'll tell you how well cared for these irrigation tanks and temple tanks were. Amazingly well cared for because of the religious value, utilitarian value also. Good question.
Is there any full-fledged working North Indian temple for us to go and learn about the Agama and also the architecture of the temple?
Why? Puri Jagannath, Lingaraja. So across the country, you have so many living temples that across the country, you have living temples. Yes. It's for you youngsters to take it up now. Go on researching on Indian heritage and culture.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes. Yes?
I have a doubt.
Yes?
Before, after the rock was, the pillar was broken, how did the Thailands make another one? Did they build it or did they find it?
Very, very, very good question. So obviously they saw the pillar and the capital with the wheel on top before it broke. You understand?
I didn't get it.
Okay. So this Ashokan pillar at Sarnath with the 4 lions on top and the wheel on top of the head of the 4 lions was safe for a long time. And the pillar in Thailand, obviously they came to Sarnath, they saw the pillar, they saw the 4 lion capital, they saw the wheel on top and decided to make one in Thailand. The pillar in Sarnath broke afterwards. Must have. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Good question.
Thank you.
Namaste, Akka. Karun here, Akka. I have a question, Akka.
Yes, please.
Akka, you said that the Brahmi script was used both in Prakrit and Tamil, Akka. So how was it differentiated?
No, see, suppose you are able to, okay, now I'm saying now you can read the Roman script, right, Karun? You're writing AB. Okay. So if you write an English name, suppose you write Peter, P-E-T-E-R, you are able to read it. My name is Chithra, it's a Sanskrit name. You can still read it. You understand it. So if you know the Brahmi script, if you are able to read the Brahmi script, write the Brahmi script, when you see an Ashokan inscription in the Prakrit language, you have to know that language to be able to understand it. If you come down south and you see an inscription written in the Brahmi script and in the Tamil language, even though you know the script, okay, you know the script, but you will have to know the Tamil language to be able to understand that inscription. Shall I repeat?
No, understood. Thank you.
Good. Welcome.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste. Yes.
I have a doubt.
Sure.
Then how did the pillar break?
We don't know how it broke. We don't know. It was very unfortunate. Wish it had not broken. Wish that the sculpture on top had been intact. I wish that we don't know.
Is there any record how it was broken?
To the best of my knowledge, no. We don't.
Ma'am?
Yeah?
Ma'am, did the pillar break by bad structure of materials?
No. The pillar is a very sturdy pillar made of sandstone. And so many of Ashoka's other pillars are still standing. No, even today, they are not broken.
Yeah, ma'am, but do you think somebody
some accident? Well, we don't. We really don't.
Some accident, ma'am.
Maybe, perhaps.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Yeah, ma'am, I have a doubt, ma'am.
Yes, please.
From which script did Devanagari script organized that? Who used that first, ma'am?
Okay, so the Devanagari script in which we write Hindi and Sanskritam today, you will be very surprised to know, came from that ancient Brahmi script. That ancient Brahmi script was there. I told you about it, no? From that script, that script changed and changed and changed and changed over many hundreds of years. It changed. Today, it is the Devanagari. Okay?
Akka, we have another question from YouTube.
Sure.
Which temple do you think is the beautiful temple that you visited, but now it is damaged?
Well, I'm very difficult because very difficult. I can't answer that question. It's very difficult. I've seen so many beautiful temples which are damaged. How I can't even think of which to put as number one. maybe I can put, I'm just thinking very fast now. I'm thinking the Hoysaleshwara temple in Halebed in Karnataka is one of the most beautiful but very damaged temples that I have seen. Oh, what about the Sun Temple in Modera, Karnataka, the Konark Sun Temple in Odisha? I can't put anything as number one. Sorry, the list is too long.
Okay. Another question is, from which script did the Devanagari script originate? You just answered that.
I'll just add to that, please, Rama. Yes, I just said that the Devanagari script comes from the ancient Brahmi script. After changing over many centuries, it has become the Devanagari script. But I also want to add that the Tamil script that we are using in Tamil Nadu to write Tamil also came from the Brahmi script. Every other script in India and in Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Thailand, so many countries, many of those scripts have also come from the Brahmi script. It's not confined to India. That one mother script. Yes, yes. Tell me. Ask me.
Ma'am, where does Gopuram temple, ma'am?
A Gopuram is the entrance way into a temple, into a South Indian temple. Okay? So coming back to the Brahmi script, it was the mother script of India. From that came your Devanagari, your Tamil, and many of the scripts of India and Southeast Asia. Okay. Somebody else?
Also,
shall I ask you a question?
Sure. Please ask.
Please go ahead.
Ma'am, why did Indian government adopt the Sarnath pillar as the national seal of India?
National emblem of India? I'm afraid I don't know. It's a very beautiful thing. It's got a lot of meaning in it, Buddha Dharma Chakra, etc. But I don't know who or why exactly it adopted it. But anyway, we have it. We are proud of it. That's all. Good question, and I don't have the answer.
Akka, could you also, there's another question related to the connection between the Brahmi script and Harappan script. So could you please elaborate on that?
No, I'm afraid I'm not able to say anything because the Harappan script is still not conclusively deciphered. And unless that happens, the connection between, time-wise, there's a huge time difference between the Harappan script, Brahmi. The earliest we have of the Brahmi script today is are the ones in Tamil Nadu and the Ashokan edicts. But Harappan script is far older. I will not get into that. Right now, we are not in a position to conclusively give you that answer. No.
Okay. Also, there's another question. Who used Devanagari script first?
Very difficult to say.
Origin of Devanagari?
No. Can't say. So Devanagari didn't appear all of a sudden. It was getting changed from the Brahmi script onwards. Process of evolution. So we call it Devanagari today. Before that, it was called Nandinagari, Nagari, so many names. So we can't suddenly jump on to a particular date for Devanagari. It's an evolution.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, my question is that recently they say that 200 temples have been damaged. Ma'am, what is the reason?
I'm not getting into that. Let's not bring in modern history. I deal only with ancient and medieval history. Modern history is not my topic.
Yes, ma'am. Another question, ma'am. What is the similarity between Brahmi script and Tamil language?
Some of the most ancient inscriptions in Tamil Nadu have been written in the Brahmi script and in the Tamil language. That is the connection. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Did Tamil develop from Brahmi script?
The Tamil script developed from the Brahmi script. The Tamil script that you write today, over many hundreds of years, developed from the Brahmi script. Not the language. The script, Tamil script, developed from the Brahmi script.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Ma'am, even in the Indian flag, is it all the Ashoka? Is it not called the Ashoka Chakra, or is it called the Buddha?
We call it the Ashoka Chakra. In the flag, it's the chakra. That is the chakra that is taken from the Sarnath capital. So in the Sarnath capital, it is very clearly the Buddha Dharma Chakra.
So does that also mean the same?
It should mean the same. It should mean the same.
Sarnath is capital?
No, Sarnath is a small place very near Kashi.
Okay.
Are there some temples which are carved out of just one rock, like the Kaliasa temple?
Oh yeah. These are called monolithic temples. Mono is one, lithic is stone. So you have the most famous one is the Kailash temple in Ellora in Maharashtra. It's a monolith, one piece of stone. There are not several, at least a few in North India. In the south, in Tamil Nadu alone, you have Mamalapuram with so many monolithic temples, but they are not in worship. Then about 90 kilometers from Madurai, you have a place called Kazhugu Malai, where also there is a monolithic temple. But most monolithic temples, that is temples made of one piece of stone, most of them were never completed. And even if they were completed, they are not in worship today, mostly.
Ma'am, the temples which require a lot of sources were built near the sources, right? Because earlier they didn't have cranes to transport the sources.
We can't say that. For example, take Ashokan pillars. The stone was quarried in a place called Chunar near Kashi. It was taken all the way to very many places in North India, far places that stone was taken. Similarly, just one example I'm giving you, the Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple, there is the stone near Tanjavur. It came all the way from either Pudukottai or Trichy or some other place. They were transported many kilometers. They didn't necessarily build next to the sources. No, I won't say that. Not at all. They built where they wanted to build, and they took the effort to bring the stone from other places.
Ma'am, thank you.
Welcome.
Ma'am, the inscriptions in the rocks of the temple will get damaged while copying it, ma'am?
No, the inscriptions on the walls of the temple will never get damaged when they are copying it. They are putting soft paper and they are putting ink on the paper. That's all. It will never ever get damaged. No. Anybody else?
Akka, could you please tell something about the Vaidishwaran Kovil, about the Nadi astrology?
Nadi is not part of my it's astrology, predictive, and no, I don't know anything about it, and it doesn't come into my scheme of heritage and culture. No, I don't.
There's also another question.
Yeah.
They are asking, could you suggest a few books to read about ancient history of India? Because it seems a very vast area and they don't know from where to begin and how.
Okay, so I'll give you my email ID. I'll spell it out very slowly now. Write it down and write to me about exactly what you want to know in Indian heritage or culture, etc. And I will try to suggest the appropriate books for you. So it's D for dog, R for rat, CHITHRA at gmail.com. I'll repeat this. DRCHI.
Is it all caps?
It doesn't matter. It's case friendly. Email doesn't matter. I repeat, it's DRCHITHRA at gmail.com. All right, so write to me and I'll definitely answer you. Any other questions?
Ma'am, could you suggest something for beautiful temples to visit?
You want a list of beautiful temples to visit? Okay, write to me. I'll send you the list.
Okay. Ma'am? Ma'am, Kausika speaking, ma'am.
Yes.
So, the Sarnath pillars, ma'am. Yeah. So, those have the chakra, and does it have that, a slanting line? So, does it have like 24 lines?
The Sarnath pillar capital is the emblem of the government of India. Full stop. That's what you're seeing on your passports, your coins, your notes, etc. What's all you have? That's all there is. There is only one pillar in Sarnath, that too broken. The capital is also broken. It doesn't have that chakra on top. And what you have is the emblem of the government of India. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, last few questions, please. 2 or 3. That'll be it.
One more question, Akka.
Yeah.
You told that the inscriptions are only in eye level in the pillar. Then why they have such long pillars?
Oh, such tall pillars are there so that you can see it from afar. It marks a particular place of importance. So you know, if you have something that's that short, why are our temple gopurams so tall? You can see it from a distance. You can admire it. So these pillars were works of art. You are cutting a stone that is this big, transporting it, you're putting it up. You're putting it up to mark the birthplace of the Buddha, the place where he delivered his first lecture, etc., etc., etc. It can't be one short, stout, ugly thing. It has to be something that is awe-inspiring. So you get a sandstone piece, you cut it into a proper shape, very tall, you polish it beautifully, make an exquisite capital, you put it up on top, then you write an inscription on it. It's awe-inspiring. You need to do that. Yeah, another 2-3 questions max.
Another interesting question.
Yeah.
When they know that the wheel on the top of the Ashoka Chakra, the emblem, then why the government did not adopt it?
Look, I am not a mouthpiece for the Republic of India. I am just a student of history and archaeology. This is what I know and this is what I've told you. I don't know why they chose it. I don't know why they didn't put the wheel on top. These are questions I can't answer. I'm very sorry. Okay. Anybody else?
I think, Akka, you have answered all the questions from the chat box.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, one last question. Sure.
What is the difference between a script and a language?
Okay. A language is what we speak. I'm speaking English now. You are speaking English now. That is a language. When you write it, you can also write. When you write it, that is the script. That is the difference between a language. Language is spoken, script is written. That's the difference. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, right. So thank you all very much. And we'll meet again next Saturday, same time, 11:30. Those of you who are interested in coming back, and we'll discuss this further. Meanwhile, those of you who have any queries, kindly email me. I'll definitely answer you. Thank you. Namaste. And once again, Tattvãloka, and especially Shreya and Rama, thank you so much for all your support and all your help. Appreciate it. Namaste.
Thank you, Akka.
Namaste,
Thank you,
ma'am. Thank you,
everyone,
Akka.
for joining.
Bye, ma'am.
Most welcome. Bye.
Namaste, ma'am. Bye, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am.
Will we be coming at the same username?
Bye, ma'am.
I'll come next Saturday.
Thank you. Thank
Ma'am, is
you.
this same username?
What? Okay, you leave. I will show in my screen. Okay. Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Is that all?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Ma'am, is this the same
Link.
username for next week?
Yes, it's the same.
Okay.
Same one. Okay.
I couldn't view live
On YouTube. Did you receive the link?
Yeah, I got the link.
It is our page link. So please go on the page and you will find that the live is going on.
Okay.
Ma'am, will the YouTube link will be available even after the session is over because the session is recorded?
Yes, the session is also recorded and it is going to be live.
So how can we access it? Like, how do we search for today's session after the after this?
You could go on our page, Shreya Nagarajan Singh Arts Development Consultancy, and on that you will find it.
Okay.